7:05 a.m. Taiwan Strait. 87 warships stop moving. They do not transit. They do not announce. They close formation and hold position across 3 sea lanes, east and south of Taiwan. No diplomatic note precedes this. No hotline activates. No press release explains intent. The blockade begins when ships stop pretending to pass through. At Pacific Fleet Headquarters, the first report arrives 3 minutes late. Radar operators at Jiashan Air Base confirm what should not be possible. A coordinated halt across multiple formations, timed to the minute. Destroyers, frigates, amphibious transports, missile boats riding the outer edge like teeth. 87 hulls is not an exercise. By 7:08, Taiwan's eastern surveillance stations register the pattern. The ships are not advancing. They are sealing. At 7:11, a junior intelligence officer highlights the anomaly. No request for passage. No radio chatter beyond encrypted fleet coordination. Someone is holding the door shut, quietly, waiting to see who touches the handle first. 7:14 a.m. In the Combat Information Center aboard USS Ronald Reagan, the watch officer counts in silence. Then the second layer activates. Subsurface assets, deployed 12 hours earlier under routine readiness movements, are now in position. Diesel-electric boats slip into shallow choke points. Nuclear boats slide into deeper waters where sound bends and mistakes last forever. By 7:17, 96 torpedoes are flooded across multiple platforms. They are not armed to fire. Yet, the tubes are open. The pressure is equalized. One command separates preparation from launch. Silence replaces movement. Subscribe. These moments don't come with warnings. If you're still watching, you already understand the stakes. Was this containment, or the opening move of a war? 7:21 a.m. Beijing. In a secure room beneath the Central Military Commission complex, a digital wall displays green icons, blue icons, red uncertainty zones. No one speaks when the final layer confirms subsurface assets positioned. The blockade is psychological. The torpedoes are insurance. This was designed to pressure, not provoke, to demonstrate inevitability without crossing thresholds that trigger alliance commitments. But at 7:26, Washington receives a classified assessment that reframes everything. One line changes the crisis. Chinese blockade posture does not match invasion doctrine. This is not a seizure scenario. If this is not invasion, then what is it? The answer arrives seconds later. Assessment. This is a containment rehearsal. Objective, likely psychological dominance, not kinetic escalation. The crisis is no longer about Taiwan. It is about credibility. Who blinks first when force is present, but unused? 7:32 a.m. Civilian shipping notices first. AIS transponders begin to reroute. Insurance algorithms flag risk thresholds. A Panamanian-flagged container ship slows, then turns south without being told to. Coercion does not require force if fear moves faster. By 7:35, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense authorizes Condition Orange. Air patrols launch, but remain inside territorial airspace. Missile batteries power up, but do not radiate. Every action is measured. Every restraint is visible. The stranglehold tightens without violence. Maritime lanes are sealed. Airspace is constrained. In civilian traffic self-deters. Legal framing allows Beijing to label this a security operation rather than an act of war. The feeling is inevitability. There is no way out. 7:38 a.m. In Beijing, confidence builds. The restraint shown by Taiwan is misread as paralysis. The silence from Washington is interpreted as indecision. They believe the United States will not escalate over a blockade with no shots fired. Taiwan cannot break containment without triggering the response no one wants. Subsurface dominance is absolute. This is the critical misread. They dismiss what they cannot see. At 7:41, a Taiwanese P-3 Orion detects an anomaly south of the Penghu Islands. Not a contact, a distortion. The acoustic signature does not match known profiles. It fades, then reappears 2 kilometers closer. The aircraft circles once. That is enough. Below, a submarine commander receives fragmented data and an incomplete picture. The rules of engagement are defensive. The language is precise, but precision does not eliminate fear. At 7:43, he authorizes tube flooding. Not launch, preparation. The act is silent, but irreversible. 7:45 a.m. Pacific Fleet. The alert crosses classification boundaries faster than protocol allows. Subsurface activity detected. Confidence, medium. Intent, unknown. In Hawaii, an operations planner mutters, "They're loading the gun." Someone else corrects him. "No, they're letting us hear the click." 7:49 a.m. Beijing detects the distortion. The room goes still. This was not part of the plan. Subsurface activation introduces a variable no one can fully control. A senior admiral leans forward. "If they fire first..." He stops. Not because the sentence has no ending. That does not include consequences he cannot contain. The timeline is compressing faster than expected. This was meant to last hours. It has lasted minutes. At 7:52, a single Taiwanese frigate alters course, 5 degrees east. The move is minor, but it is movement, and movement demands interpretation. If you believed escalation was impossible, would you push further? Unease replaces dread. What the public map does not show is already in motion. 3 U.S. attack submarines, positioned weeks earlier under routine deployments, have stopped maneuvering. They are not hunting. They are listening. They are counting. They are letting Chinese submarines believe they are alone. At 7:58, the count reaches 96 torpedoes across multiple platforms. The number matters. It means redundancy. It means intent. But it also means exposure. Every loaded tube is a compromise of stealth. Every flooded chamber creates acoustic signature. Every captain who believes he is undetected becomes predictable. The decisive force was present before the crisis began. 8:01 a.m. One U.S. commander receives updated intelligence. Chinese subsurface formations mapped. Acoustic profiles cataloged. Firing solutions possible but not authorized. He faces one choice: reveal presence and force immediate de-escalation, or stay silent and let the opponent expose themselves further. No committee debates this. No secure video conference weighs options. One person. Limited information. Irreversible consequences. He chooses silence. Objections are noted, dismissed calmly. The decision feels wrong, but only if you believe control requires visibility. What was silence restraint or preparation? 8:03 a.m. In Taipei, civilian leadership debates evacuation advisories. In Washington, legal teams parse response thresholds. In Beijing, planners realize the blockade is compressing faster than models predicted. At 8:05, the same Taiwanese frigate continues its eastward drift. 5 degrees becomes 8. The movement is still minor, but it forces interpretation, and interpretation forces response. 8:09 a.m. One Chinese submarine detects something it should not. A faint return. Too steady. Too patient. The commander freezes. This is not Taiwanese. This is not Japanese. This is American. Before he can maneuver, the realization spreads through encrypted channels. They are not hunting. They are being mapped. Every submarine knows what that means. Acoustic dominance. Firing solutions already calculated. Position compromised before the crisis even started. The advantage has shifted, not through firepower, but through positioning done days ago. 8:12 a.m. Fear enters the antagonist's side. The bluff collapses not through violence, but through the sudden certainty that silence was never theirs to control. 8:14 a.m. A commercial ferry ignores routing advisories and enters contested waters. Warnings are issued. Warnings are ignored. Communications fail, not through jamming, but through confusion about who has authority to enforce what has never been declared. Civilian interference becomes undeniable. The line is crossed, not by military action, but by the collapse of implicit understanding. Escalation is now forced. 8:16 a.m. Beijing issues contradictory guidance. Some units are told to hold, others are told to enforce. And no one is told what enforcement means when the rules were never written. The subsurface formation, designed for dominance, becomes a liability. Acoustic exposure. Position revealed. No shots fired. The bluff collapses. 8:18 a.m. One Chinese submarine disengages early, then another. Orders cascade downward, but coherence is gone. Some captains want to hold. Others want to withdraw. No one wants to be the first to surface or the last to stay submerged. The formation above remains, but the teeth are pulling back. Surface vessels lose leverage the moment subsurface assets retreat. The blockade was always psychological. The torpedoes were the foundation. Without them, the stranglehold is theater. 8:21 a.m. Gaps appear where pressure once held firm. Was this restraint or a quiet defeat? 8:24 a.m. Pacific Fleet updates the assessment. Subsurface Chinese elements disengaging. No launches. No counter detection. No one celebrates. Because this outcome was never guaranteed. Control evaporates in minutes. 29 vessels are no longer where they began. They are not sunk by explosions. They are rendered irrelevant by withdrawal, exposure, and strategic loss of initiative. The cascade is complete. 8:31 a.m. Access is restored without announcement. Shipping lanes reopen. AIS transponders resume normal routing. The Taiwanese frigate returns to patrol pattern. Assets are repositioned. Subsurface formations withdraw to safer depth. No celebration. No victory speeches. Silence again. 8:46 a.m. Beijing issues a statement about successful completion of readiness operations. Washington declines comment beyond routine monitoring language. Taipei emphasizes defensive posture throughout. Markets reopen. The world exhales without realizing how close it came to not doing so. Both sides claim success. Both narratives are plausible. The public sees restraint. Analysts see miscalculation. Planners see luck. You are invited to judge, but consider this. At 7:05 a.m., 87 warships stopped. At 7:17 a.m., 96 torpedoes were flooded. At 8:09 a.m., the advantage shifted without a shot. At 8:46 a.m., 41 minutes after it should have collapsed, the blockade dissolved. 29 vessels withdrew, not because they were defeated, but because their position was no longer tenable. The lesson is not about firepower. It is about this. Control without certainty collapses the moment someone realizes you are bluffing. Coercion exposes position. And miscalculation is faster than war. No shots were fired. No cities burned. But something irreversible occurred. For the first time, coercion failed without force, and everyone involved learned the same lesson. Silence is not safety. And once pressure exposes position, power evaporates quickly. If this happens again, you'll want to recognize it. The world didn't know it held its breath. But for 41 minutes, it did.